Welcome to Explore, Explain, Highlights. In this highlights package, we'll be looking at Season 3, Episode 9, with our guest, Francis Gagnon, discussing the company Voilà.
There is immense needs for information design and little demand in proportion for what it is. It's like all the towers downtown, wherever you live, are making PowerPoints like right now that are absolutely impossible to engage with. And they're doing those reports and those dashboards with bad graphs and all. It's like, and they don't realize it because this is the only thing that they've ever seen. And, you know, they just keep on practicing without learning it. And I am very optimistic that this market is going to gradually open. I see the value added of information design. This is not this is not phony. This is not a fluke. This is a real value added. It really makes a difference. And so it's just a matter of time as people discover it and realize that it makes a difference before the market like starts to grow and grow and grow. I'm not worried about it. I would say I've always been interested in design, but graphic design, but I was also interested in the analysis and the substance, if you will, and I didn't see enough of this in graphic design, so it's always stayed like a side interest for me. And so, you know, I was doing the layout of the student newspaper, for instance, these kind of like design tasks that I would have learned myself. I was subscribing to a magazine about design where they were explaining the basic principles, and I was teaching myself these things, but always like as an aside. And then in I was preparing trainings and of course, on PowerPoint and all. And so I probably Googled something like, I hate PowerPoint. And that's how I found PowerPoint is Evil by Edward Tufte.
Yes.
And so then I was like, who's this guy? I started reading this thing and I discovered information design as a field, that it was possible to bring those two interests that I had as one. So that was probably around, I would say 2005, like this. And so I just started, like, I know it clicked right away. I was like, yes, a visual explanation of something. Yes, clarity into it. And so I was very taken by this field.
Now, 2013, I think you said, the company started. Now, tell me what happened in your head that said, right, I need somebody else. What was the kind of trigger point you thought, right, let's look to expand this? And was it simply that you needed somebody else to fulfill something, or was it this vision, right, I think I would like to set up a company doing this?
It's always been the vision.
Right.
Even before I launched it. This is one of the reasons it's not named after me also. And in my vision, you know, I had to build this thing separate from me, and that can exist eventually even without me. And so I came to Montreal from Washington to create this company. I did not hire right away because I just needed to create it. I needed to like think of like creating a website. I was creating training material. I was executing on my first contracts and all. And to get a bit personal, after 1 year, I was getting ready to hire and maybe grow. And then some stuff happened in my personal life that just delayed all of this way more than I anticipated. So it took me actually almost 6 years. But so after those events, you know, I came back and I tended to just get into let's say a cycle. I was getting more and more work. I was too busy to start a company, basically. I have this this image that I share sometimes, that I wanted to open a restaurant, but every day I was selling hot dogs on the street corner.
Right.
And so no time to, like, I had to close the hot dog stand and, you know, like develop a menu, like find a place and all those things. So yeah, I was just too busy to do it. And so, but it's always been the idea. I would say that why did it happen after like 5.5 years is when I did it. It's, you know, it's hard to say. There's something about critical mass of time and motivation and frustration for not doing it.
Right.
Where I would say like my biggest move was to say no to work.
Right.
And to, okay, I need the time. I acknowledge now that it's impossible to start a company when I'm already working like 10 hours a day. And there's always the, you know, I was just too lazy this week. I had time between 11 and 1 a.m., you know, to to do this thing, and just acknowledge that I have to do this. So enough frustration to get there. And yeah, I think there wasn't really like something that happened at that point.
But I'm curious about the talents that you were seeking to bring on board, and was that perhaps I want another Francis to work with me, or was it I want somebody who's not Francis who can bring different skills and different lens to the challenges that I'm facing, so that we've got an all, you know, maybe a broader base of capability?
Yeah, this is a very good question, and it was a very good question to myself for a long time, and I think it explains parts of the delays as well, because I was like, I don't know where to start, and I don't know anyone else who does what I do, even in Montreal, like the way that I do. And you know, Function actually has closed since then, and our people were employed elsewhere, and my specific brand of information design, which is like was very focused on reports and getting their data visualization right. And I'm not a coder or any of those things. So the decision that I made was more like, what can I delegate that can save me time and be done better than I do it? And so this is why I hired a graphic designer. As I said, I always learned it on the side. I've always had an interest, but I am not a graphic designer by training. And graphic design also is quite time consuming.
Yes.
You know, if you do a 200-page report, you're going to click a lot to place all of those paragraphs and graphs.
There's a lot of nudging.
So,
yeah,
it's a lot of time. So, and I call that clicking and clicking. And so I thought, like, this is great. I can hire someone who's going to improve this work and actually spare a lot of my time by doing it. So this is how I settled on a graphic designer too. And it makes me realize also in your answer and your question about what was the moment where I decided to, like, it was time to have a team. I think part of this reaching this critical mass also was maybe more vision in the future for myself. Like, I could see what I was doing there, and I was like, okay, what if I'm in my mid-50s and I solicit like a client to say, yes, I can do the layout of your report, I'm gonna do your graphs, I take care of everything. And I didn't think that I would have the energy at that point, you know, to do that kind of work. I could just feel like and also the motivation at some point. You know, I really reached a point where I was like, okay, I got the contract. Shit.
I've got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I got to do it, you know? And I thought, this is no good. You know, I could feel in a way in myself, like the limit being reached of the motivation for this phase of my life of executing absolutely everything. If the printer is stuck, it's me, you know. If the invoice is not paid, it's me. If InDesign crashes, it's me, everything. And I read something interesting once about this. I don't have the source, but it said, you know, your client is entitled to good work, but not necessarily to great work, which happens every now and then. You know, you just catch lightning in a bottle and it's great. And so sometimes we do, you know, sometimes it's great and we just have this brilliant idea and all, but I cannot, every time I take a contract alone or as a team, promise that it's going to be genius, you know, and so clever and all. But of course, they're entitled to good work, and we put our minds to it, and we do something that is aligned with their objectives. So I would say this kind of thinking, like, sort of gives me a bit more space, if you
Yes.
will, like less stress, less pressure and all, and
Yeah.
say like, I know what I'm doing. I've done this before, and I can definitely do something good, but it's possible it's not going to be great 10 out of 10.
And good.
Thank you for joining us for this Explore, Explain highlights episode. As always, the full episode is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. We hope to see you again soon on another episode of Explore, Explain.